Tone Nielsen, who is an independent curator based in Copenhagen. In 2002, she made Democracy When, Activists Strategizing in Los Angeles, and Minority Report, Challenging Intolerance in Contemporary Denmark. She characterises her curatorial practice as activist, and her strongly politicised projects explore the possibilities of using the exhibition medium as an activist tool for social change. She's active also as a visual artist within the collective Gall and Nielsen, and since 2005 has developed a curatorial platform, which I'm going to say in English, which is called Curatorial Action, or KA, with Frederick Hansen. Collaborating with artists, theorists and activists from all over the world, KA produces cross-disciplinary exhibitions, publications and discussions that investigate the complex relations between historical colonialism, capitalist globalisation and neo-colonial forms of exploitation on the one hand and post-colonial forms of conviviality on the other. KA's recent projects include Rethinking Nordic Colonialism, a post-colonial exhibition project in 5 acts in 2006, and The Road to Mental Decolonisation 2008. KA are currently working with Fire Stations Studios in Dublin to make Think Tank. So Tone Nielsen.
Do I need to speak into this? Well, thanks so much for the kind invitation to participate in the Who Goes There symposium. It's my first visit to Glasgow, indeed my first visit to Scotland, and I'm very grateful to be here. Not only has this event been really well organized, but I also find its formats of responses to a series of specific questions in relation to Arthur Chudrievsky's show very refreshing and engaging. So thanks so much to Leslie and James and Lorraine for inviting me and formulating such insightful questions. And thank you to the other speakers and audiences for your thoughtful contributions. I hope I'm able to meet the challenge and stay within the 20-minute time limit, which I'm not very good at. The question I was asked to respond to lies at the heart of my curatorial practice. It reads, can art play any meaningful role in affecting political change, or does it merely offer aesthetic commentary? Characterizing myself as an activist curator, my answer is, not surprisingly, yes. Art can indeed play a meaningful role in affecting political and social change, which is not to say that it is allowed to do so currently, at least not within the market economies of Western liberal democracy. As Chudrievsky has often pointed out, and I'm going to refer to him a bit since we are here because of him. Let's see if I can fix this. Art may be political as long as it stays from politics. It can act politically in galleries, but not in real-life debates unfolding in different communal spaces, such as the media. It may be social as long as it does not produce social consequences. End of quote. To Chudrievsky, the question thus is not whether art has a political dimension or not. It does. Every form of artistic practice either contributes to the reproduction of the given common sense and is in that sense political, or it contributes to the destruction or critique of it, as Chantal Mouffe has often stated. And the different forms of state repression and censorship that artists and cultural practitioners have historically been subjected to are clear evidence that cultural practices continue to be understood and treated as political acts. To Chudrievsky, the problem lies rather in art's voluntary struggle to gain autonomy from, and I quote, politics, religion, authority, and everything else that seeks to use art for its own ends. A struggle largely motivated by the shame and guilt that art's historical flings with totalitarian regimes have produced. According to Shuvniewski, this claim to autonomy has disconnected art from society and made its actions inconsequential and unaccountable. And that suits Western societies and the marketplace just fine. In response to this, Shuvniewski makes a call for art to abandon its claim to autonomy and to rethink its relation to society. Artists should enter into a type of dependency with other discourses and exchange knowledge in order to come up with useful tools for new ways of implementing power and knowledge, he states. Obviously, artists won't change the situation alone. They need to do so in conjunction with people involved in politics, science, etc. And not by coming up with yet another tool of political art, turning out exhibits to be shown in the white cube, commodities in political wrapping, but by consciously engaging in a political structure with the intent of offering it their skills and taking part in negotiating the nature of our common reality. Let's swap competencies, as he states. In my independent curatorial practice, both within the framework of Kuratorisk Aktion, the curatorial collective, and within the artist curator collective, Golden Nielsen, I have attempted to do exactly that, but in a manner very different from Shuvniewski's methodologies. My practice is rather profoundly indebted to the deep solidarity project of transnational feminist thinkers and activists like Shaki Alexander, Chandra Mohanty, and Vandana Shiva. For the past 5 years, the relations between historical colonialism, capitalist globalization, and neo-colonial forms of exploitation on the one hand, and post-colonial forms of conviviality on the other, have constituted the core of Kuratorisk Aktion's investigations. In a broad body of projects ranging from cross-disciplinary exhibitions to film programs, publications, and public discussions, and most often all the above combined, we have strived to show how colonial dynamics continue to inform the way in which global capitalism creates boundaries between and within bodies and mentalities in order to sustain itself. With the declared aim of taking curatorial action against the injustices and inequalities produced by these boundaries, and in the long run contribute to the hard work of transforming them into a process of deep solidarity, we've developed a methodology we call curating across capitalist divides. Proceeding from transnational, feminist, queer, post-colonial, anti-capitalist, and environmental justice theories, art practices, and exhibition formats, this methodology enables us to bring together bodies and mentalities normally held apart. It permits the creation of a multivocal, cross-disciplinary project format where diverse, sometimes conflicting, knowledges and experiences can be articulated, exchanged, and engaged with in ways that bypass established north-south, white-collared, male-female, straight-queer, normal-abnormal, corporate-corporal, individual-state, subject-object demarcations. The result, in Shaki Alexander's words, is a situation whereby crossing whichever boundaries we have inherited, and I quote, we begin to see the relationship amongst things, not in order to see that they're all equal, because there is inequality, but at least to see that there is a relationship between and amongst them. Our work thus forms a synthesis of aesthetic and discursive analysis, critique and activism, intended to shed light on the relationship between things, subjects and processes with an aim to subvert the power relations that divide them by curating radical critique and critical action. Our projects unfold as interrogations into the dynamics of historical colonialism and their structural reproduction in capitalist globalization, examinations of processes of decolonization and the post-colonial condition as trauma, hybridization, and conviviality. And thirdly, think tanks for imagining and generating new forms of resistance, healing, and transformation towards just sustainability. To Kuratorisk Aktion, social-politically engaged art and curating offer the very potential to conceive and offer new horizons. Both hold the ability to generate the unpredictable, the unwritable, the unscripted, that side from which the unknowable is engaged, from where new subjectivities and new translations can be generated. In short, the place which allows for the very engagement with radical difference in its own terms, as Sarah Mahadaj has so eloquently coined it. We regard both artists and curators as public intellectuals, societal debaters and critics, capable of creating counter-spaces and counter-publics, exposing the repressed, diagnosing societal blind spots, listening to the silenced, and creating new knowledges and structures for conviviality and sustainability. Because of this, art and curating are always given privileged positions in our transnational cross-disciplinary projects in order to conceivably enable the other disciplines included alongside art and curating to learn from art and curating's mode of engagement. We try to bring practitioners and practices, methods and analysis together in such a way as to stress both their specificities and commonalities. A reach at Hardt Negri's notion of absolute democracy, consisting of an open network of singularities that link together in the basis of the common. And the common to us is the way that we are all affected by the dynamics of global capitalism, although to very different degrees. In our accentuation of art's potential to become an active social and political player within the current world order, the figure of the artist or curator is thus engaged as one among many agents invited to pose new questions and look for alternative answers or complications. So, although socio-politically engaged curating and art doesn't affect politics just yet, immediately, the myth of autonomy in mainstream society still has too strong a hold. Both, however, are able to facilitate new kinds of queries and unlearnings, to offer much needed sites for remembering and healing, and to provide alternative models for linking us up as singularities in the common. Some of these sites and models could potentially help pave the way for just sustainable change.